Turn the dial up, turn it loud. Miami's pride, make us proud. CanesWear crew, you hear the crowd. Hurricanes ain't backing down. Every play, every score. Raising bets and raising roar. Rocking orange, green galore. All for one and one for four. We got FTSN, taking names, win it again. Podcast fam, till the end. Tune in, now let's begin.
Hello and welcome to the CanesWear weekly podcast on the FTSN network. Feel free to like and subscribe. FTSN, awesome network, lots of great shows on it, and glad you're jumping in here and joining us. Remember, leave your comments. We'll answer them during the show, and you should see the comments up now, actually, when you're doing it, so it may be a little cooler now. And also, we'll pick someone at the end of the show someone randomly, basically, that will go ahead and give a CanesWear $25 gift card to. So today is Wednesday. I think it's May 28th, and I've got the legendary and great Gio Milian as my sidekick today. Welcome, Gio. How you doing?
Doing great. Came back from vacation from Memorial Day weekend. That was fun. Great time with the kids and whatnot. Official visit season begins this weekend for the Miami Hurricanes. They'll have multiple 5 stars on campus, 17 guys expected in. And Canes baseball made it into the postseason, playing Friday.
None of us thought they would actually get that. And I'm sure, and there were a couple of schools left off, I guess, that are probably quite upset that they didn't get in.
Georgia Tech being one of them.
Yeah, so it's in football, we kind of got squeezed out. In baseball, we got in. It's amazing how that happens. I know baseball and basketball, a lot more teams are taken. So it is kind of neat how they did it. When I was younger, it wasn't this way that they picked it as the 64. It seemed like they had the regionals. Basically, if you won the regionals, you went to the World Series. There wasn't even a super regional way back when. And the Canes always had the regional at home, and they always went to the World Series. It was like clockwork every year. So I don't know if it was just the way baseball was set up, or it was the luck of the Canes, or we were just that much better than everybody. I think it was a combination of both. That much better than everybody, I think, was one of the things, because we were always one of the favorites to win the World Series. When do we play? When do we play the baseball?
It'll be Friday afternoon is the first game.
And we're at South Mississippi, or
it's hold on. I took a look at it.
Alabama's in there, but they're not amazingly, they're not the home team in the regional.
Yeah, I had saw it on Monday, but forgot which one it's exactly scheduled at. Hold on. I have it right here.
All right.
That will be at, hold on 1 second.
While you're looking for that, Juan Manuel, great seeing you. Thanks for jumping in the show. We're going to get to all the comments. It is up a little bit differently. If you guys can see it on the screen as well, like we can, let us know. The comments, it is something new from StreamYard. Jacoby Grabs, welcome to the show. Like that, smash that like button. Fantastic. Thank you so much. So what do we got, Gio?
Yeah, so it is in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. I totally forgot. Like, I saw it Monday and then coming back from vacation and everything. But yes, Hattiesburg, Mississippi against Alabama, 3 p.m. on Friday. We'll see if they can get the ship righted. I mean, they lost 6 of their last 7 heading into the postseason. Like you said, Brett, many of us were questioning, were they actually going to get in? Was the committee going to look at recency bias and say, hey, like, should they actually be in with their recent performance? Thankfully, they got in. So that's a good thing. It's been a little while since the last time they were in. Actually, the last time was when, what's his name? Damari was coach, actually, was the last time.
Exactly. And you never know what can happen. Coastal Carolina won a few years back. And I don't think they came out of our region, I think, right? I think it was, and they were not favored at all. So anything's possible. You get a couple of hot pitchers, you never know what can happen. It's like in hockey, a hot goalie. The pitchers get hot, and anything is possible. So that's the way baseball is. If pitchers can dominate a game, so it'll be exciting to see. So 3:30, you said what day?
It'll be at 3 against Alabama.
All right.
On
3
Friday.
against Alabama. All right. So Jacoby says they can see the new comment section. Awesome. Philly Kane, what's up, fellas? Gio, hoping we get big fish to commit over the next 4 weeks. So, Gio, what do we got to look forward to in this now that the visits are able to take place, correct?
Yes. So over the next, over the next 4 weeks, there will be official visitors in every weekend. There is a couple guys taking midweek visits, and guys just kind of fitting it in their schedule and whatnot. But this weekend's a big one. 17 guys expected in. It's the second largest crowd in terms of like talent that Miami will be hosting for an official visit weekend since Mario Cristobal became the head coach.
Wow.
The last time that they had a group like this was the class that Francis Maunoa was in.
Awesome. So Juan Manuel's asking about her. Bryce Fitzgerald is looking fantastic. If I'm Kevin Beard, I'm in. Oh, that's fine. How do we see these things here? Can you read that?
Yeah, I can read it. If I'm Kevin Beard, I'm in Bryce Fitzgerald's ear to play some receiver to use your speed, explosiveness, and ball skills. Gio, who have you heard is impressing? I've heard a lot of good stuff about Ethan O'Connor over the offseason. Mohamed Toure that Miami got from Rutgers, the linebacker. I've gotten a lot of good feedback even about JoJo Trader during the offseason. I'm sure everyone's seen the videos, but some things, speaking to some people around the program, they're really excited for what he can bring to the table this year. He's healthy. I know some people had some concerns, a little minor injury during spring, but everything's all good. He's cleared. He's ready to practice and play heading into the fall. And obviously the big one, Carson Beck, he is working with the team. And mostly a lot of the guys are really impressed with how he approaches the game, just from like the mental aspect of it, the amount of time that he puts in the film room and studying. So only so much you could take away with off-season workouts, but the guys are getting in time together. Beck will have about roughly 2 months to throw with these guys before camp even opens. So
awesome.
There should be plenty of time.
You know, Carson Beck, we've got coming in. Obviously, we had Cam Ward come in and obviously did a great job, who was an experienced quarterback. Before that, I guess De'Ara King was an experienced quarterback, but we haven't had too many guys come in like this. Like a Carson Beck, and I don't think anyone that's won like he's won. I mean, we've gone with a lot of younger guys at quarterback. There weren't really transfers for the Canes in the past. Before De'Ara King, I don't even know if there was a transfer at all in the quarterback. So this is probably our biggest winner from another program. Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, look at it this way: he's 24-3 career-wise. Right? Win and loss in the SEC. I know people bring up, oh, it's Georgia, this and that. Regardless, that's still impressive in itself. He's played in like actual big games and big game atmospheres as well, because everyone talks about like, oh, you know, like the night game or Hard Rock and Notre Dame coming to town and whatnot. I look at it from the perspective of I've been on record saying this, but I'm going to say it again now. I don't see how Carson Beck loses to a quarterback on the opposing side of the field that is starting his first ever collegiate game. I think Miami wins the opening game of the season. Just logically thinking, Carson Beck, he's played and started in 27 games in his collegiate career, 24-3. CJ Carr for Notre Dame has never started a game unless he is going to be a future all-timer, like in collegiate football. The chances are not very high that a first-time quarterback starting in a game like that is going to win. So, yeah, I'm 100% on board. I agree with you, Brett. I just feel from an accolade standpoint, if anything, possibly a little more proven in terms of winning compared to Cam Ward coming in, which is crazy to think about because of the talent that Ward was. But yeah, quarterbacks get weighed heavily on winning games.
And he knows how to win. I think knowing how to win is a huge part of the battle. He's got the confidence. He's won. I think we're in great shape this year. If he's healthy and can throw the ball, I think with our receivers and our running backs and our offensive line, our offense, while it may not be the Cam Ward offense, in some ways, I think it could be better. just a more all around. Because
Yeah, I think you'll see a more balanced offense this year, just complementary towards Carson Beck's game. And I think one of the other factors that you'll see come into play is that everyone knows it's very well documented that Cam Ward wasn't the biggest fan of taking the check down. Carson Beck, he's more open to that. And that's an aspect we'll see with the offense much more this season. I think they'll lean on the run game more too, just between having Lyle and Fletcher returning. And then you add in a guy like Shamar Brown from North Dakota State that I know everyone will probably jump to think, oh, well, he played at the FCS level. They just had a first-round guy this year, offensive lineman. And the last guy who won the Jerry Rice Award coming out of the FCS level just went #1 overall in the draft and played for Miami last year, Cam Ward. I'm not saying Shamar Brown is Cam Ward.
I know. I was going to say, we got an FCS guy right there. 305 Sports Now, what's up? Good. So thanks for joining the show like always. Blue asks, who's going to Hattiesburg? If you got anybody, check in. You going to be there, Gio?
No, I won't be making the trip out there.
I will not be there either. But Blue, if you're making it, give us some of the reports. Todd Fowler, welcome to the show. Dolphin Denny says, how in the double hockey sticks does the best receiver in Hurricane history not get drafted?
Yeah, it's crazy to think about. I think a lot that played into it was the 40 time.
Absolutely, the 40 was big.
Restrepo didn't exactly have the prototypical size that you look for in a receiver. Obviously, slot receivers are smaller and whatnot, but I do think that 40 time definitely played a factor. But to go completely undrafted, I think that was a little shocking to me, regardless of the 40 time, because there was another receiver who played at Oregon, Taz Johnson, who's another really talented slot type receiver. He got drafted, and he didn't run such a great 40 time either. So it was a little surprising.
But anybody at the pro day could have seen that he was, his routes, he was catching passes from Cam. He looked great from what everybody told me. When he was, so it's not always about obviously speed, and obviously he got tweaked. But it does go back to, if you have an opportunity to run at the combine, run at the combine. Because you have another opportunity to run at pro day. Because if he would have ran, he would have said, I'm not going to run now. So what his normal speed is what? What would you say he is? He's obviously not what he ran in the combine or in the pro day. What would you say his typical 40 was?
Well, here's the thing with Restrepo that I think people overlook. At the Nike Spark combines that they used to host around the country, they used to do like regional ones. They'd have one in South Florida. Sometimes they put one in Orlando, Georgia, California, different places around the country. From what I recall, he clocked a 4.5 at the time. So maybe there is a little truth to what he said, that maybe he did tweak his hamstring beforehand, or whatever the case may be. Do I think that he plays like a guy that runs a high 4.8, low 4.9? No. Do I think he's a 4.4 guy? No. But I don't think he's as slow as people are thinking, as like the 40 time would suggest. I think what people also overlook as well, that sometimes 40 time has to do with preparation and training, proper technique as well. I've seen kids in high school run 4.8s, and then they get to college and they're running 4.5s and 4.4s.
Plus, it's, Michael Irvin. What was Michael Irvin? He was not a 4.4. Was he a 4.5? I know he was.
I believe he was 4.6.
I thought he was 4.6 too, and I didn't know if I misremembered it. But he was a 4.6. But nobody ever caught him. Once he got in the open field, he was gone. And Restrepo's that way too. He gets open. The fact that he can cut like nobody other, he can get. And the second he grabs that ball, he turns upfield so fast. There's no hesitation. He's been taught in all his training is, to just keep going forward. He's not dancing around. He has that quick step. And I think it's a blessing where he ended up. There's no doubt in my mind he's going to make the team in Tennessee.
Oh, I think there's definitely a good chance that
he could be. It's going to be a huge asset to Cam. So that's awesome. So he landed. Now, if he would have got drafted 5th in the with Cleveland and ended up with Shador Sanders and Dylan Gabriel, it wouldn't have been the same situation if he would have got to New England, if he would have got even to the Miami Dolphins. I don't think he would have had the opportunity he's going to have here, because obviously Cam's going to be looking at him because he knows exactly how he moves. He's seen him all year round. So, I mean, I'd rather get a free agent with Cam than be a 5th rounder or 6th rounder without Cam, in my opinion.
Wait, I just saw a comment from Juan Manuel. Unless I recall this incorrectly, I thought I remember seeing Tez Johnson, because he mentions here, Gio, the Oregon receiver ran 4.55, but Restrepo's time of 4.8 is offensive. When Restrepo ran that high 4.5, he was 185, not 206. Yes, that is factual what he said about Restrepo's size. But I could have sworn, I know I saw somewhere that Tez Johnson from Oregon had like a really concerning 40 time. Unless I'm living in the Twilight Zone or something, I know for a fact there was a lot of talk about that even before the draft. So, wow. Did I really not remember that correctly? That's weird.
Look at that. Even the best sometimes, but I'm going to go with you, Gio, that I think you remember everything. The Juan Manuel, yes, I'm showing the stuff. You don't see Canes items in the background, let me know. I may have to just update the my own transfer portal here. But thanks for bringing it up. Remember, the show is sponsored by CanesWear. We've got all the latest Canes merchandise. We've got the Taylor jerseys. We've got Reed jerseys. We just got some more in. We got Fletcher jerseys, Restrepo jerseys, Cam Ward jerseys, the starter jackets, lots of really cool items, and lots of new stuff coming in for the season. We just got the great orange Adidas sneakers that are really comfortable, the lightest sneaker we've ever had from them. So lots of good stuff, hats and everything like that. We got the Panther merchandise, who are down 2-0, but up 3-1 in the series. We've got Inter Miami and Messi. We've got tons of Dolphins merchandise, and we've even got some Marlins and Heat. So check us out, CanesWear.com or 2655 South University Drive. And we appreciate everybody for joining the show. Blue, great point. Brock Berlin was our transfer. He did transfer from the Gators before he was here. How many years did Brock Berlin play for the Gators before he came here?
He spent a redshirt year, and so he had a redshirt year there, and then he was there a second year. He had to sit out 1 year to transfer to Miami, which would have been his redshirt sophomore year. So it was 2 years with the Gators. Then he had to sit for 1 year at Miami, and then he played his 2 years with Miami, which was 2004.
How many games did he play in Florida?
Oh, I can't remember that off the top of my head, but okay. I could pull it up, actually.
Hold on. We'll take a look at that. But obviously, he won a couple of big games here at Miami. And he'll always be known for that. It's amazing. If you win a big game at Miami, or you have a big game against Florida or Florida State, you're always going to be remembered. And
Brock Berlin played in 12 games at Florida. He played. He played in 4 in 2000. He played in 8 games in 2001. Then sat out 2002. That was the year he had transfer portal wasn't a thing back then, but he had transferred. And 2003 and 2004 with Miami, the transition from Big East to ACC.
All right. And that was one that when it happened, it was like, we're getting the Gator quarterbacks coming to Miami. It was like a shocking thing.
Yeah. I remember as a kid being in middle school, actually, at the time. I remember how big of a deal that was being made. I went to Hammocks Middle School, by the way, so we were also the Hurricanes. So,
cool.
Yeah, all up in the locker rooms on the school campus, we had like news clippings of Brock Berlin as you walked into the locker room talking about Hurricanes get big transfer from Florida and looking forward to next season and to redemption after the Ohio State game. All those great storylines.
No, it was awesome. So you were a Hurricane. I was a High Tide out of Miami Beach, actually. It was good memories back then. Let's see. Hassan, thanks for joining the show. Gio, have you heard about the Auburn linebacker, JaMychal Garrett, that Miami has a great shot? That Miami has a great shot at him. What do we know about JaMychal Garrett? Great name.
So, a little history on that recruitment. So Miami had some interest. It was between January and February. Visit did not end up taking place. There was some discussion whether Miami was going to pass on him or not. I know there's been a lot of active evaluations at linebacker throughout this class. So things haven't been exactly set in stone in terms of their top targets. Guys have moved up and down the board, and some guys they're still evaluating right now that don't even have official visits scheduled. When it comes to Jermichael Garrett, though, they had the chance to see him this spring. They liked what they saw. They're going to size him up when he comes in for an official visit in the next couple weeks. In terms of like where Miami stands in that recruitment, obviously he's an Auburn commit. Used to play his high school ball in Alabama. He transferred over to Louisiana areas, all different types of SEC programs on him. But in terms of like where Miami stands with him right now, like, again, it's still very preliminary right now. That relationship is just starting to be built as we speak, basically. It was kind of hot and cold pre-spring, then post-spring, they kind of changed their evaluation. So
Goal by the Panthers, 2-1.
Nice.
2-1. We're back in it. Once the floodgates open up, once you break open the once you get your first goal, I had a different way of saying it, but I won't say it on the air. Once you get your first goal, hopefully we'll keep on coming and scoring. Let's see. Do you believe the high school, Ross Jones, welcome to the show. Do you believe the high school quarterback recruiting has been strong enough to attract the top high school wide receivers to commit, especially some of the top local guys?
Yeah. When it comes to a guy like Darion Coleman, he actually has a lot of pull, especially within the state of Florida, with a lot of the top guys. A lot of them respect him. I say just from an influence standpoint, he actually has more influence than even Luke Nickel had last year. And pretty crazy in itself, because Luke Nickel was basically considered the player of the year last year in the state of Georgia.
So Luke Nickel, speaking of him, he looked good. He looked good in spring practice. Some people thought that he started off slow, but he's just a freshman. How do the Canes feel about him?
Well, I'll put it this way. You mentioned it. He had a little bit of a slow start when he came in. Rightfully so. He's a true freshman and just getting on campus. Really supposed to still be in high school, enrolling early. Things started to
2-2. Like I said, you score once, you score
2-2
multiple.
already?
2-2, baby.
Wow.
2-2. All right. Sorry.
All right. They get it done tonight.
Yes, exactly.
Stanley Cup Finals bound again.
All right. Where were you, Gio? I apologize for
that. No, it's no problem at all. So the thing is, let me catch my train of thought here. So yeah, near the end of spring, he started catching on a bit more, especially the last couple practices. Flashed a bit in the spring game. I think the biggest thing that stands out with him compared to when you look at the other guys behind Carson Beck right now, like some people will agree with this, like as fans, and some people will disagree. But at least Miami's perception of things, they like what they have in Emory Williams, like as a guy that has some level of experience. That stuff does matter in college football, whether people want to believe it or not. Like in terms of like, do they think possibly he could be a star? That hasn't really been said. But when you compare Nickel with Emory Williams, Judd Anderson, who Judd is a great athlete himself, but still learning a lot of the nuances of becoming a quarterback and just accuracy and ball placement and just consistency. Luke Nickel has much more pop to his arm, in the essence of he's not afraid to throw or make mistakes, which is a great thing. You want him to iron that out early on when he gets on campus. Obviously, you don't want him being a turnover machine. He had quite a few interceptions throughout spring practice, but he also had more wow plays than the other two. Yeah, you can make the argument for that. So again, it's how much can you minimize those mistakes between now and when it's time for him to potentially get on the field or compete for a starting job. So I think they have a little something there with him. It's still too early to tell. Always is with the high school quarterbacks that come in. You really, truly don't know until they get here. And then you kind of size them up with the other guys in your room and you get an idea of what you have.
Mm-hmm. And so many of them improve, maybe not the first year, the second, even the third year. The game is moving so much faster at every level you go up. It's just some guys are slow to develop. slower to develop. Just look at Joe Burrow. I mean, he couldn't even get on the Ohio State team, and he was possibly one of the greatest quarterbacks ever to play in college football.
Well, not only that, the year before Burrow's like really big year, the national consensus on him, some people were just kind of considering him like just a guy at quarterback. The year before before that big season, he was just kind of okay.
They played us, and he did not look good at all. And I thought at most he would have been a third or fourth round. I said that to Cam's father. I said, Joe Burrow, if he stays in school, probably a third. Doesn't go, he goes out to the draft, he's probably a third or fourth rounder. But now he went the number one pick, so one extra year. These kids are crazy not to go one extra year. Beck did a good job. Quinn Ewers could have gone back, probably made a few $1 million, and still can't understand that one. I don't care if you're rich or not. That's a lot of money. Let's see. New King God, thanks for joining the show. I agree with you, Gio, about the Notre Dame game, but have any of you watched the Notre Dame podcast? No, I don't really watch those, but maybe you do, Gio. But they think they're going to beat us bad, and we don't have much talent. It's actually crazy to listen to them. That's got to be kind of funny to listen to that.
I'll contextualize it, basically.
Good word.
Notre Dame has a lot of talent returning on the defensive end. They have one of the most electric running backs returning to college football in Jeremiah Love. But again, the quarterback position is so important and at a premium in college football now. I watched their quarterback, CJ Carr, who's going to start for them this season, play since he was in high school. He played for a couple of 7-on-7 teams that I saw at a few events a couple years back. I think he's a really good quarterback. But again, like I mentioned earlier, it's hard for a kid making his first start to go in and win a game like that environment is going to be.
Exactly.
Hard Rock Stadium week 1. Like, people could say what they want to say about Hard Rock Stadium when Miami's playing a Ball State or FAMU or this or that. But when you have Miami Notre Dame rolling into town, that stadium is going to be packed. The environment is going to be electric. It's again, we go back to Miami Notre Dame 2017. We heard these same things that the Notre Dame side was saying that, oh, Miami's not going to win this. We're going to blow them out or whatever. I think it's going to be a really good game, honestly. And I think mostly it comes down to that Notre Dame's defense is going to help them stay in that game. I don't think they have enough firepower on offense to like keep up with Miami, like if you matched up the two offenses. But defensively, though, I think their group of guys will keep them in that game. I just don't see a scenario where Carson Beck loses to a quarterback that's starting his first ever collegiate game. I can't wrap my head around it. But again, if the Notre Dame side thinks they're going to blow up Miami, I think that's actually pretty comical.
I love the fact that they think, and maybe the players will listen to those podcasts too. But I agree. We have an experienced quarterback that is going to be experienced against an experienced defense. But we saw what happened last time. It was so loud. They said they couldn't hear it all. So my guess is they're going to be practicing with big speakers all month long for that first game. And I don't, if they want to go win the rest of the games with this kid as the quarterback, once he gets his feet wet, fine. We always like when the team we beat wins for strength of schedule. But you're right, that first game, I'm definitely thinking it's definitely in the Canes' favor for sure. And our weakest positions are the positions probably that are, against that first-time quarterback. And hopefully, if our line is as good as it can be in defense, and also linebackers now with the add-on, hopefully we'll be able to put a lot of pressure on them as well. And again, they can run 50 times. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
With their running game. Let's see. Juan Manuel, has Malachi Fields practiced at Notre Dame yet? If he is not enrolled in Summer A at Notre Dame, there must be smoke there.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting situation overall. I would be surprised if Miami has any other addition at this point. I will say this though, in terms of Notre Dame practicing yet, that's not happening yet. I will say for the Miami side too, the date I've been hearing that camp will be opening sounds like July 30th or July 31st, which will give Miami about roughly 4 weeks and some change to prepare for the Notre Dame game to open the season at Hard Rock Stadium.
Okay, that's awesome. So on the Malachi Fields, and he's a 6'4" receiver out of Virginia, correct?
Yes.
Back-to-back 800-yard years. What was he? He was at Illinois before, or he was somewhere, and then he was.
He was with the Virginia Cavaliers.
It was Cavaliers both years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so both years he was. So I mean, when would he? I mean, at what point in time Miami could, if he's not enrolled, can at any time he just drop out then and go to Miami?
Yeah, he could go to any school that he chooses. I do know that, speaking to a few people that are aware of it, like, he has some fans in the building, like from Miami's staff side of things. Like there are people that know who he is and know the type of talent he is. I just don't envision it happening at this point. But again, we'll see.
He just could have made it easy and come in right from Virginia. We wouldn't have to worry about any of this. Dolphin Derek, thanks for joining the show. Go Canes. Let's see. New King God, how do you think the teams match up outside of quarterback position in the Notre Dame game?
The way the teams match up, I'll put it like this. Notre Dame's secondary is going to be one of the best in the country again. They have a really good group back there. I know, yes, they lost a guy like Xavier Watts, who was one of the best safeties in the country, but the returning guys are really good. Their defensive line, they still have some talent returning on that front. And here's the other thing that's not being discussed, actually. Notre Dame's going to be breaking in a new defensive coordinator themselves, just like Miami. So they're going to have some kinks to work out game one, just like Miami. Like any team, at the beginning of the season, 9 times out of 10, you don't see the best version of that team to open the season. So, wait, Panthers are up now?
3-2, baby.
Oh, my goodness.
It opens up. It's amazing. The guy could be stopping.
It was quick.
Goal. Yeah, 3 goals in like 6 minutes.
No, I felt like the way the flow of the game was going early on, like Bob was having a little struggle and whatnot. I was like, oh, maybe this might not be their night.
I know, because I thought once, because they'd lost 15 in a row in the Eastern Conference Final. So over the last 4 times they played in the Eastern Conference Final since 2006, I think it is. And I thought once they win, they're going to get so much momentum. And they came out so fired up. But obviously, hopefully the Panthers can hang on, because I don't want to. It'd be better for sales if they go back to South Florida or getting another home game. I still would like to wrap it up here.
Oh, of course.
It's always good. Games are great for our store. So
on this subject, though, of the on how the teams match up, I think Notre Dame has a really good secondary. I think they're definitely going to test Carson Beck and Miami's receivers group. This is why I believe that Miami's got to lean on the run a little bit going into that game. Run to set up the pass is my motto going into game one for the Hurricanes. I like how Miami's defensive line matches up against Notre Dame's front 5 with their offensive line. It's really a lot of splitting hairs when I compare like the linebackers group. Obviously, Miami has had some upgrades there. I would say Notre Dame possibly may have the better special teams in terms of like kicker and whatnot, because again, Miami, the guy they got, you're hoping that he's the 2023 or 2022 version of Burt Auburn, who was pretty good for Texas, not the 2024 version that kind of lost some steam at the end. A lot of Texas fans complained about that. He really hurt them in some big games towards the end of their season last year. So if I had to give edges, I like Miami's quarterback better than Notre Dame. I'm going to give Notre Dame the edge at running back. I like Miami's running back depth, but Notre Dame does have one of the best running backs in the entire country, proven in Jeremiah Love. Receivers, I'm actually going to give the edge to Miami because the veterans that they've brought in, and I do believe they have some of the best youngest talent at receiver in the country. And I think Kevin Beard's going to prove once again that he is one of the better receivers coaches in the country. Someone had asked me this question actually this week about am I concerned about those young receivers in Miami's room? I'm not. I'm not if Kevin Beard is your wide receivers coach, I'm not as concerned as people think that they are. So Miami's tight ends, I like. Offensive lines, you could make some arguments on both sides. I think that maybe splitting hairs there. Defensive lines, I like Miami's. Linebackers, even though Miami brought in some talented guys, and obviously Torrey is a really big upgrade bringing into the room. Notre Dame has some guys that are really entrenched there, especially a young freshman and Kingston Viliamaasu that really stepped up last year. I actually watched this guy coming out of high school. Miami was recruiting him a bit too, and Southern California and some other programs. But I think I'll give Notre Dame the edge at linebacker. And secondary, even though Miami upgraded theirs, Notre Dame is more proven on that end. So again, those are just the edges I see on both sides.
I think Philly Kane mentioned a few questions down. He said that Notre Dame has lost a lot of players on defense this year. Any idea on how many guys they lost? Key positions?
Well, I know they lost Xavier Watts. I know they lost one of their key guys on the interior defensive line as well. They returned some of their better linebackers, though. And most of the secondary guys that are returning are pretty much considered top or near the top at their positions. So, again, I love how Miami's revamped the secondary, but logic tells me, though, that I think Notre Dame may have the better, more experienced secondary going into that game.
Well, hopefully our quarterback with the experience and our receivers can take advantage of their secondary better than they can take advantage of ours. Juan Emmanuel, Gio, what is your opinion on Marty Brown? What does he remind you of Steve McGuire? And Steve McGuire, one of my favorite running backs. That's a guy that's a legend because of what he did to Florida State.
1991.
He was amazing. I still see him on that Sports Illustrated cover running through. Great guy, too. When he was inducted into the Canes Hall of Fame, I went up to him, said hi, gave him a card. And he came by the next day to the store, took pictures with us, bought a bunch of stuff, and he's always online, too, with us. So great guy. So he was a great player for the Canes. Legend in the FSU game, led us in touchdowns as well. I think he had a record for a while, and a great human being as well. So what's your thoughts on Marty Brown, Gio?
Yeah, and actually on your comment about Stephen McGuire, if I recall correctly, I overheard a while back that he was a police officer.
Correct, yes.
A police officer
in New York.
at some point in New York, yeah.
Yeah.
Salute to him.
Absolutely.
Protecting the people in our country. But when it comes to Marty Brown, I'm not sure who I would want to compare him to. If I actually had a comparison for a certain running back that is on Miami's roster right now, I've always liked this comparison from Mark Fletcher. He reminds me a bit of like Alonzo Highsmith, maybe not as physical, but just, I don't know. I just see some similarities in their games. But Marty Brown, though, I'd have to watch his tape more, and then kind of, even though I have watched his tape, but I've never really thought about like who do I think he kind of reminds me of.
Oh, well,
when I make comparisons too, I make it like very lightly, not like it's like a one for one that like this player is exactly like this guy.
Well, nobody's exactly like that. But I look at Fletcher running straight up. I mean, he's hard to bring down. Fletcher, it definitely, I think, it's a little Alonzo Highsmith. But I think Fletcher has more power. He's got a ton of power, in my opinion.
Actually, you know who Jordan Lyle reminds me of? A more explosive Mark Walton.
Really?
Very similar build. Just Lyle's faster, it's quicker, more agile. Yeah, I think the body types are very similar too.
Well, that's going to be amazing. This Mark Walton, I know he had his troubles, but he got no luck at all when he was playing for us in respect to, I mean, if he would have stayed healthy the last year, I think he could have been a Heisman candidate. But the year before, I mean, he was he's scoring all the time. They kept calling them back. It seemed like he had more touchdowns called back from the field and also kick returns. So if Jordan Lyle is going to be quicker than Mark Walton, this guy is going to be amazing to see.
Yeah.
I still remember it was Walton. We had the three running backs coming out of South Florida, right? We ended up with Walton.
Yearby. You also had Trayon Gray on those rosters.
Florida got someone too on that thing, right? It was.
Oh yeah, he was originally committed to
Jordan.
Miami.
Was that Jordan?
Jordan Scarlett.
Jordan Scarlett, yeah.
Jordan
So
Cronkite too. He was there.
yeah, that was it.
Miami
So
had Dexter Williams, who ended up flipping to Notre Dame.
yeah, so we got Walton, and Walton, I know it turned out, for him, unfortunately, but the kid could play, and he was
Oh
excellent
yeah.
here. I think he would have been good in the pros too if the Dolphins. He was starting to turn it around, and I think he had all the talent in the world. Just unfortunately, ran into some bad luck, if that's what you want to call it. But a great kid. I've met Mark several times. I knew who represented him, and just a great guy. And I hate to see that because he was his family just was a great kid. Just sometimes, we got a lot of luck involved in life as well. Let's see. E. Whitty, best receiver is a crazy thing to say. I guess he's talking about the best receiver being Xavier, which is definitely.
I don't think Xavier is the best receiver to come through the program, but when it comes to like a statistical standpoint, obviously you can't like not acknowledge what he was able to accomplish.
Correct.
That was impressive in itself. Obviously, different times, different eras. You have the spread offenses now. Back then, you had a lot of pro style or single back offense. There was not really the spread that you see now or the air raid. So if you people when they've asked me who I think is the most talented to ever play at Miami as a receiver, I think I always point to either Andre Johnson or Santana Moss. Like from a pure talent standpoint, those two were incredible. Michael Irvin, obviously the most prolific.
I mean, we had Eddie Brown way back was a great receiver for the Bengals. We've had several other great, but the guys didn't have 4 years to play.
Yeah.
So if correct. If Andre Johnson played all those years and would have had that opportunity, if Michael Irvin would have had the opportunity, if Brian Blaze, I mean, so many guys that we had, but that just wasn't the way it was for them. Plus, a lot of them weren't starting at the beginning. And your partner, if he could have played 4 years, think about that.
Amon was a heck of a talent.
Amon, the greatest receiver ever to play at Miami, is he broke Michael Irvin's freshman year, correct?
Yeah.
There's a lot of luck involved, and a lot of people say, "Oh, he played so many years," but it's also if you stay healthy and you stay with the program, you deserve all the accolades. I have no problem with guys staying 4 and 5 years, and hopefully it'll be more and more now that we have this NIL coming in.
Look at guys like Santana Moss, Reggie Wayne, Dan Morgan. Those guys stayed all 4 years. Ed Reed was another.
Ed Reed, exactly.
All 4 years.
So these guys have stayed years, and they weren't getting paid over the table, but who knows what was happening under the table in those days. But everybody had to do that. But now you can get paid. I mean, and look, when Clemson's whole defensive line came back and they won the national championship, Christian, you knew they were all getting something. They weren't all coming back. We're just going to run it back. And they were the most dominant. That was probably one of the most dominating defenses I've ever seen, that Clemson team. One of the best teams I've ever seen also. Let's see. He will be the next Wes Welker. Well, I thought that about Braxton Berrios also, Todd. Thanks for joining the show, Todd. Braxton Berrios, I thought, would be the next Wes Welker. And Wes Welker was great. Julian Edelman was he won the, those small slot receivers. There's been plenty of them. But I do think Restrepo is going to be
Danny Amendola.
Exactly.
Cole Beasley.
Yeah, so there's been plenty of them that are small, and there's and they get opportunities. I think he will be that way. I don't think Wes Welker was the fastest guy in the world either. He just got open. So it's I think Restrepo seems like he was faster than him. But I think Restrepo's going to have a great career. I really do. And I do think if he's playing with Cam, if he gets in there 5-6 years with Cam, it's going to be unbelievable to watch. Juan Manuel Gio, the Oregon receiver, ran a 4.55, but Restrepo ran time is 4.8 is offensive. When Restrepo ran that high 4.5, he was 185, not 206 pounds.
Yep, he is right about that. We had mentioned that comment earlier, but yeah, that Nike Spark Combine time was roughly about 5 years before Restrepo ran that Pro Day in 40 and whatnot. Who knows what it really is? If you ask me personally, I don't think Restrepo plays like a 4.8 guy, but do I think he's a 4.4 guy? No, I think that's obvious too. But just 4.8, it's very hard to believe. Like, I'll give you an example. Do people really think that Simeon Barrow who had a really nice pro day at Miami and ran a 4.9? Do people really think that Xavier Restrepo that Simeon Barrow is almost as fast as Xavier Restrepo. I find that very hard to believe.
Exactly. Totally agree. And what I guarantee you put him in the shuttle run, he's going to be competitive with anybody, which is those, they don't really do a timing for that, right? That they put out. They do time it, but it's not as popular.
Yeah. It's not as popular, yeah.
But that's quick 10-yard bursts. I mean, that's really what offensive linemen do. When they want an offensive lineman to 40, how many offensive linemen are running 40 yards down the field?
Not many.
Exactly. So it's kind of crazy. Blue, what player jersey will be sold this year? Carson Beck. Yes, we definitely plan on having Carson Beck and several other players. We already have Mark Fletcher. We will carry Cam Ward all year as well for the Hurricanes and Xavier and probably some other past Hurricanes also. But we will have Carson Beck and we will have other players as well. Hopefully with Jordan Lyle, we'll get his jersey and several other jerseys we'll get. So if you want anybody in particular, just let us know. Juan Manuel, Michael Irvin was a high 4.58, dependent 5'8", 4.58, which is about 4.6. Tez ran a 4.51. According to Hassan, Q Bates, welcome to the show. Tez was 150, soaking wet, which is why his 4.51 was a disappointment. Okay, Tez we got a lot of talk on Tez. Gio, he had multiple times. His best was 4.55. His best was 4.51, 4.5. Is that Xavier he's talking about or Tez?
No, he's talking about Tez Johnson. So I think I remembered it in reverse, the concerns with Tez Johnson. Yes, that they're actually right that he was like very light in weight. 40 times were fine and whatnot. Obviously, people were kind of hoping if he would be like a 4.4 guy, especially being that size, 150 pounds as a receiver. But yeah, no, they actually got it correct. I had it backwards. It's weird. Like I thought is that the concern was the 40 time and one. Yeah, that totally crossed my brain.
No worries, Joe. Everyone's allowed to misremember. That's fine. Let's see. Bricks, Brock Berlin won 3-0 versus FSU and 2-0 versus UF. That he was a legend in that respect, Blue. Brock Berlin. He's on I think the Hockman show on several times too. He's a good guest as well. We should have him on the show one time, Gio. You close with him?
Brock Berlin. I've had the chance to talk to him once before. I know he's coaching high school football.
Right.
I'll try to see if I can get something done there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If you've talked to him before, I know Hockman has him on. Sometimes I can text him or so, and that would be cool if we get some players like that. That would be awesome. If we can get him before the FSU game, that'd even be better. Yeah. The Titans will Todd Fowler. The Titans will rock and roll with the Ward Restrepo combo. I agree. I think right now they're 8-1 to win the division, 100-1 to win the AFC, and Cam's 150-1 to be the MVP. I'm saying book all three of them. The long shots. Aaron Morrell, thanks for joining the show. Nkosi Perry, the FSU comeback was legendary. It totally was.
I was at that game.
I took my wife to her first Cane game that day. I was there with my wife and son. It was unbelievable. That was the Brevin Jordan game also, right?
Yes, that was the Brevin Jordan game. Yeah.
And that what a comeback, phenomenal. It was amazing. I flew up to Virginia the next week to see my son Matthew, was at the game. And unfortunately, that next game didn't go as well for us with Nkosi. Yeah. And I really thought, okay, I didn't think that he was going to be as good as people thought. A good kid. I met him. I remember at Paradise Camp. But I thought after that game, this guy is going to be a superstar. And it didn't turn out that way, unfortunately.
I actually have bad memories of that game. Even though Miami got the win, it was really rough overall because, the news of Amon broke out shortly thereafter. And then my brother actually broke his leg that day. Oh. And then the person I was with at the time, many years, we're talking, what was this, like 6-7 years ago, possibly somewhere around there. Person I was with at the time was actually laughing at me when Miami was down in the game. I think I realized at that time, I don't know if I really want to be with this person.
So that game brings up bad memories for you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Aaron, for bringing it up. We appreciate the comment. No, but that game, all I remember is looking at it. I remember saying to Jeff in that game and Ken saying, "Oh my goodness, nobody is going to come to the store now." That's when you have a business that is related to the Canes. Even though I've been a fan forever, business takes over, and the first thing you think of, nobody's ever going to buy another Canes item. We're getting blown out of our own building. So it went from and the funny thing is because Sunday was jam packed with people excited after we won. So it's as a business person and a fan, it was awfully difficult watching the beginning, but the end was fantastic for everybody but Gio. Even though we did appreciate the win.
Yeah, the win was great, but yeah, it was crazy times.
Todd Fowler, he said Tennessee. Aaron, the Hurricane Pope, welcome to the show. You have a wall full of legends behind you, sir. Go Canes. Absolutely. Taylor, we've got Ed Reed with those iconic jerseys. We got Fletcher, Restrepo, and Ward. And hopefully those guys will be legends as well. But thanks for pointing that out. Hurricane Pope, Philly Kane, he said before I answered this one earlier, Notre Dame has lost a lot on defense, and we have a good shot at winning the game. I feel really good about that opening game, but I felt really good about the Alabama game too a few years ago. I thought they had the new offensive coordinator. I said, we're going to destroy him. But anyway,
I did not feel good about that.
About that one. That this game, we're going to be at home. We're experienced winning. We've got some depth. I'm much more excited about this game. But I do drink the Kool-Aid every year. Juan Manuel, I saw Notre Dame, both O-line and D-line get dominated by Penn State. They should have lost to Penn State. Notre Dame was close to being blown out versus Ohio State. Good point. So how do you think that will relate, Gio, to our game? You think those big offensive lines dominated them?
In terms of how Notre Dame matched up with Penn State? Yeah. I mentioned earlier, I like how Miami's defensive line matches up with Notre Dame's offensive line. I think Miami has got some talent in their defensive line room that could definitely make an impact on that game. I wholeheartedly believe that Reuben Bain will have a big year. And I think a lot of that will have to do with just what they're being asked to do up front. And then the second part to that is, some people forget this over and over again, but he was dealing with an injury last year. Like, he missed half or a little more than half the season last year. And people are like, oh, but his production wasn't the same. I mean, the prior year, he had like 12, 13 games to put up that production. Last year, he only had half the time. So, I mean.
And it takes a while. These guys come back. They're not 100% healthy a lot of times. They're going to come back a step slow. Reuben looked a little bigger last year. I don't know, because he was out of position. Some people thought that was the reason. But you're right. The year before, he was his most dominating player as a freshman, I'd say, in his position. And plus, it seemed like, I think he led college football in holding, right? They just held him every play.
Yeah.
Spain, unless they were holding him. He also switched numbers, didn't he?
Yeah, his freshman year he wore 44, and then he switched to 4 last season.
Yeah, so 40, 44 was a better number for him, but his talent will overcome. I think if he stays healthy, he will be dynamite. And nobody's talking about Reuben this year. Nobody is talking about him, but I hear. So if he's going to be last year, everyone thought he was going to be the Outland Trophy winner. He's going to dominate the Nagurski, all the awards. But this year, no one's talking about him. That's great for him. So when he got hurt, like the first series against Florida?
Yeah, I believe it was the first or the second. No, I think it was the first series. Yeah, the very first series against Florida.
I was sitting so high, I didn't even know it. I was sitting so high, not so high. I was sitting so high in that Gators in the swamp. They had us all the way at the top where the Canes were sitting, and it was like didn't even notice it, but we were dominating, so it didn't seem to matter in that game. Now every Gator fan thinks they're better than us, even though we blew them out last year. Let's see. Hopefully we'll find out in the fourth week. Let's see. Juan Manuel, Gio, Notre Dame O-line is young and light. Where is this reputation of great O-line coming from? Knapp is 6'4", 294. LT, left tackle and right tackle are 6'6", 292. They were dominated versus Penn State.
Yeah, but we also have to remember that Penn State had one of the best pass rushes in the entire country.
Mm-hmm.
Their defensive line was really good. That whole defensive unit was really good. So,
but as our defensive unit, we're expecting to be good too, correct?
Yeah, I don't see Miami being as bad as they were last year. Like, all right, so let me put that into better words. I've mentioned this a few times before, but I feel that Miami's defensive line took more of the bad rap of the faults of the defense and the late season collapse more than they should have. And I think a lot of that had to do with how teams offensively figured out how to scheme up against Miami's defense and just the lack of having viable defensive backs in their secondary and the 3-step drops and the quick passes and the screen game. You saw it from the Duke game and Wake Forest. Even Georgia Tech was doing some of that too. Aside from you knew that they were running at you and there's just no stopping it. It's just really frustrating when you think back to those games. But in terms of like the secondary being revamped and then bringing in a guy like Mohamed Toure and the guys you have returning at linebacker, you have some young talent there and a young promising guy that you bring in Kamal Bonner from NC State, who really came on at the end of last season. I think the expectation should be that they should be improved. I think it was kind of surprising to see how bad Miami became on defense last year. Just you never really expect that from a Miami team, and
we regressed so much. That was the thing. Yeah. We looked so good against Florida, and we regressed.
Yeah, it got progressively worse. And you think of like a Miami Hurricanes defensive backfield, you don't think of what it looked like last year. Like it was as bad, about as bad as it could get.
So it's I mean, there's no doubt Cam Ward possibly has a Heisman if our defense is better last year, and we are definitely in the playoffs, which is difficult to comprehend that we didn't get there, but we didn't, and we're going to try this year. I'm sure if we do get to the playoffs, people will say, "Oh, we couldn't get there with Cam Ward, but we got there with Beck." I don't care who's the quarterback, just get there. Let's just win, okay? Al Davis used to say, "Just win, baby." I think it was. Let's see. Gio standing on wide receiver take. Yes, Gio has some baseballs there, some basketballs. He doesn't mess around. When he has an opinion, he goes with it. As I speak for Gio. Juan Manuel, Notre Dame lost Kaiser linebacker drafted. Defensive tackle Riley drafted. Cornerback Morrison, second round. Safety, second round. So basically what we're saying, they lost some players. They're obviously going to have some guys fill in. Juan Manuel, I can already tell, is Hurricanes 49, Notre Dame 7. I could already tell he's picking that right. Raymond Rodriguez, Jordan Clark also gone from Notre Dame secondary. Awesome. So they're dropping left and right. Fletcher D, welcome to the show. D says Fletcher reminds him of Gus the Bus. I think he's better than Gus the Bus. I know Gus the Bus has had a great career. He's been sticking around in the NFL and he's playing a lot. And if you would have told me of all the Hurricane backs is who's going to have probably the longest career, he's had a longer career than Duke Johnson. I would have said.
I think the best thing that could have happened for Gus Edwards was like it didn't click with him at Miami. There was like a lot of I remember just being around the team back then at the time that there was a lot of concerns back then about him playing up to his size, and it really took for him to uproot and go back home to New Jersey and play for Rutgers that he started playing more with his build. Like that was the biggest concern when he was at Miami. Everyone was like, man, like he's trying to be a scat back in a 6'2", 230-pound body. Like what's going on here?
No, good point. And I thought he shined. I thought the year he left, he was starting to look good at the end of the season. Yeah. He had a couple of good games. So I was disappointed he left at the time, but yeah, so I could say Fletcher, I think it's just a faster Gus the Bus. He's got the power of Gus the Bus, but I think he's a faster. What is he, about 6'4", 230, Fletcher? 6'3"?
He's 6'2". Well, he was 6'2", 225, 230 last year. He's dropped a little bit of weight this year. He's a little bit lighter. You're talking about 215, 220 range now.
Because he was in the store. He was in the store when I was introducing his jersey and took some pictures when he had to try the starter jackets on. But the guy, he is ripped and cut. So, I mean, he's definitely in amazing shape. He doesn't look it, he doesn't look it, but he's cut as can be. And hopefully that translates to him being even faster and outrunning the defense. D says Scarlett. Yes, Jordan Scarlett. Thanks for saying that. Juan Manuel, Jordan Lyle reminds me more of, I guess that's Barkley.
Saquon Barkley. I
Saquon
don't want to say that.
I think Barkley's a little bigger, I think, isn't he?
Yeah, Saquon Barkley was bigger than Jordan Lyle. I mean, Jordan Lyle, he's still putting on size. He's gotten into college. We'll have to see by the end of his career. He's still got another year next year. But I don't know. Ever since I saw Jordan Lyle playing for St. Thomas Aquinas and just his running gait and the way he plays, it reminded me a lot of just Mark Walton, but just more explosive and faster.
Now, Walton had didn't he have almost a 2,000-yard year in high school?
Yeah,
he was a beast, wasn't he? So yeah, so that'd be kind of special. And if he's slightly faster, I think we're gonna have an unbelievable backfield. Let's see, Juan Manuel Raymond, you're 100% correct. Look at this. Our commenters are commenting on other people's comments and they're giving them kudos. This is awesome. Let's see, Gio, what's Miami's chances with Samaria Matthew? He canceled the Clemson visit to Miami.
So Hassan's talking about the 4-star corner that will be visiting from the Carolinas this weekend, and Samari Matthews, who also happens to play on the same 7-on-7 team with a couple other targets Miami's after, and like Blake Stewart and another guy that they're evaluating at safety, and Cortez Redding. All those guys play together. With Matthews, obviously the competition there, South Carolina, Texas in the mix. Miami getting Clemson off the official visit slate for him is a big deal because Clemson, such close proximity there in the Carolinas. He plays for Amos High School in North Carolina. So, again, it was viewed as a long shot going into it. Miami really likes him. But, again, when you get these guys on campus, you got to see how things play out. There's been scenarios in the past where Miami's gotten guys on campus that they thought they had no shot of even getting in the game for, and then things start to get really rolling. There's one guy I could specifically talk about that'll be on campus next month in Vance Spafford, the slot receiver out of the California area, committed to Georgia. Miami's super high on him. He's basically top 3 on that receiver board right now. Before he ever even took a visit to Miami, it was viewed as a major long shot. Like, even his family was kind of like, you sure you want to visit Miami or whatever, when he took his unofficial. And that visit he took to Miami changed everything. Like, Miami's very much in the mix there now. So, again, when you get these kids on campus, there's always an opportunity to make a move or to make an impression and get yourself in the mix there. So, long shot going into it, but Miami getting him to back off a Clemson visit, that's always great news right there. That's a win in itself because of the proximity to home.
Good point. Juan Manuel, Gio, did you see Teal Green, Horace Copeland, and Amon play? Those were more talented than Moss. Moss developed his skills at the elite level. I thought Moss is one of the best receivers in history for the Canes. I thought he was a first rounder. I think first rounder of the Jets, and then he went to Washington. Did him and Clinton Portis just get traded in the NFL? Was that the trade?
Yeah. So Clinton Portis went from the Broncos to the
Broncos. Correct.
That was the Champ Bailey trade.
The Champ Bailey trade, exactly.
Yeah,
but I thought Santana Moss to me is one of the top receivers in Miami history. Teal Green, I was actually surprised. He was a first-round pick for the Dolphins. Unfortunately, he got hurt. Santana Moss was a first-round pick, but he was one of my favorites. But those guys you all mentioned were excellent, fundamentally route runners, great hands, and everything as well. What's your thoughts, Gio?
Yeah, so I'll put it this way. I was born in 1993, so I didn't get to see that live in person, but I've rewatched many of the old games. So I've brushed up plenty enough on history and just the film from back then and all the great talents that have come out of the University of Miami. I will say, though, yes, Teal Green was very talented. Unfortunate, the injuries he had, like as soon as he got to the NFL, there's multiple injuries that derailed his first couple years with the Dolphins, and they just kind of moved on. That's what happens in the league. That the NFL sometimes stands for not for long, and fortunately, that comes into play. Guys get hurt. They say the best ability is availability. Unfortunately, when a guy is getting hurt that often, it's hard for teams to make that commitment to those players. Now, in terms of Horace Copeland, I believe he was drafted by the Buccaneers, if I recall. He was drafted by the Buccaneers. I thought he was a tremendous talent. Horace High C Copeland, tremendous track athlete at UMC, one of the greatest track athletes the program has ever had. He was actually inducted as a track athlete first in the Sports Hall of Fame before football.
Really?
Yeah, that's a little fact right there. So he was a really good talent himself, really fast too. But if you ask me who was the most talented of those three, it's not because he's my co-host, but just I've seen all three play, and I had the chance to watch Amon play live. I think Amon was the most talented of those three you brought up. Amon was a tremendous talent that, unfortunately, his career was cut way too short.
No, definitely. The year he had was unbelievable. A few other receivers that you didn't mention, that outside of course, so we spoke about Michael Irvin and Andre Johnson, that I thought were excellent. Lamar Thomas, who was the number one receiver in the history of the Canes. Restrepo obviously broke that. I think Mike Harley broke that as well, correct?
Yeah, Mike Harley had broken the all-time receptions record. Then Lamar Thomas, I know he had the career receiving yards record.
Correct. That's what it was. He had the career. And we do. Lamar does podcast during the season in our store. So Lamar, great guy. He was a great receiver. Excellent. Lamar tells a story that when he got to campus, he told everyone he's going to be number one, and he was. Another guy is Dale Dawkins. Excellent receiver. Played in the NFL.
Number 11.
Great guy. Comes to the store, but phenomenal receiver that a lot of people don't talk about. And there's so many.
What about Wesley Carroll, number 81?
I love Wesley Carroll.
Out of a JUCO program in the late 80s.
Well, I thought he went to New Orleans, I think, right? Was he in New Orleans? I know Wes Chandler was there too, of the Gators, but Wesley Carroll was a beast. I thought he was phenomenal as well. But people don't talk about a lot of these receivers. You don't really hear much about them. You hear about the Irvins, the Johnsons, but you don't hear about these guys. But so many of them. But he was awesome, Wesley Carroll. I mean, he was one of my favorites as well. So great call on that one. There's been so many. So hopefully the tradition continues. New King God, you all think X would be a wide receiver coach in Miami? Knowing that he coaches his brother and he's done a great job coaching, I think he'd love to be a coach one day. I definitely can see him as a coach one day, maybe at Miami, maybe in the NFL. I think he's great at teaching people, great at taking his time. He's an all-around wonderful person. I got to know him, and I have to admit that. I have to agree on that. Let's see. New King God, I just don't see it on Notre Dame's D-line. They don't have anything there. No proven pass rusher. No. All right, New King got another one. Let's see your prediction. 42-14 Miami. I can see right now, and I'm backing that too. Is Torrey a middle linebacker, or will Wesley or Popo get the start there? New King God. I just know I saw him on the sand doing that routine back and forth, and I thought about, okay, just stay healthy. But he looked fast as can be. What's your thoughts on that? Is Torrey or Torrey, I should say, an MLB?
Yeah, so he mostly played weak side linebacker, will linebacker. He's played some strong side as well during his time at Rutgers. Was even putting his hand in the dirt as a defensive end earlier on in his career. And then when Corey Heatherman came into that Rutgers program, he kind of recognized that Torrey would be better as a linebacker, like an off-ball linebacker. So, again, you'll see him as like a stand-up rusher in Miami's defense. You'll see him playing some will linebacker. He is capable of playing Mike linebacker. He's done some of that here and there with Rutgers, but I think it's more likely you see him as an outside linebacker. I don't think you'd see him as a full-time Mike. And Miami, at least from what I've heard, they plan to move him around the defense. He's not one of those type of guys that you want to just slot into one spot, because then teams kind of figure out a way to negate him and get him out of the game plan.
Absolutely, yeah. And his speed and everything, I think he'd be better on the outside. But I'm sure, like you said, if they can move him around left, right, middle, and keep people confused, he looks like he's going to be awesome. Villain, yes, 3-2 Panthers lead, end of second, 18-14 to go to the game. Hopefully the Cats can hold on. Hurricane Pope, I like the memes they had about the last time we played them. Hopefully we can have some better ones this year.
Yeah, I think he's talking about the ones with the Notre Dame fans with their hands on their ears because of how loud it
Oh
was.
yes, yes, and they
I
will
still
come in
remember
stadium
when
they've ever had.
I still remember covering that game, and the next day when I woke up, my hearing was almost like it was that feeling of when you know when your ears get clogged in a
Mhm.
pool, and then you got to kind of like like yank your head to one side just for the water to seep out. My ears felt like that for the next 48 hours because of how loud it was in that stadium. Still, there hasn't been another game yet that has captured that feeling for me, at least, that since I've been covering Miami.
No, that was just amazing, and amazing that game was 8 years ago now. I know
Yeah,
it's
time
crazy
flies.
when you think about it. Juan Manuel, will Bill Belichick and his 24-year-old girlfriend be tolerable if they win the ACC with all the Viagra and Hims commercials of them together? Yes,
I think that's the best comment of the night.
that's the winning comment. But well, I don't think they're winning the ACC without Tom Brady as the quarterback.
Yeah, look, there's some work cut out for them at that program. Things weren't left exactly in the best state with Mac Brown leaving the program. I don't think that's just a quick 1 year turnaround. Do I think Belichick could do something interesting in college football at that program? Yeah. I think he's still a really good coach, regardless of like everyone's thoughts on like, Tom Brady still could have had the same success even without him, which I think is true to an extent.
Maybe more
I think they both complemented each other
yeah,
very well.
synergy there, totally.
Yeah. But in terms of Belichick and that North Carolina team this year, I would be totally shocked if they won the ACC year one.
I really think Bill Belichick will be back in the NFL one day. It's hard for me to believe that he's not going to try to go for the record, even though it looks like it can. I didn't realize the Kansas City coach is only about 50 wins behind Chula, so I didn't realize he was that close.
Andy Reid,
Yeah,
yeah.
Andy Reid, who took Philadelphia Eagles to 4 NFC Championship games and 1 Super Bowl, and then also did this with Kansas City. So he has to go down as one of the greatest coaches of all time. I know people say, well, he has Pat Mahomes, but you still got to coach him. Let's see. Eddie, Alex Bauman, Gio, is Alex Bauman a secret weapon from Miami? A secret weapon from Miami? He is a good tight end. Can he free up Elijah Lofton to play fullback, slot, and tailback? Have you ever seen Lofton running the ball?
I have seen Elijah Lofton run the ball before, and it is very impressive. Some people around the program would even make the argument he could possibly be a better running back than he is a tight end.
Wow.
That's how talented he is. And it's so unorthodox, too, because you look at his frame as like a tight end, you wouldn't think that he would be like this big time weapon, but he is. It works for him. Kind of a little similar in that essence to like Brevin Jordan. Brevin Jordan wasn't your prototypical size for a tight end, but he was a heck of an offensive weapon. I think Lofton is actually built even better than Brevin Jordan was, if it really came down to it. But in terms of Alex Bowman, funny thing you bring that up because I mentioned it on a podcast today with Michael Yeo on Comics on Canes earlier this afternoon, that I've gotten a lot of feedback about Bowman dating even before the spring, because during the spring he was a little bit nicked up, missed some time. The biggest feedback that I got about him that they're really excited about is consistency. When you talk about Alex Bowman, who came in from Tulane, and the production that he had coming from that program too, that's what they're mostly excited about, just how consistent he is from a day-to-day basis and game to game basis. Because sometimes you have players that may have one good game or two good games and they kind of disappear for a multitude of games, and then they have another good game. What I was told was they're really excited about his consistency. They think he could be a guy that helps every single game this upcoming season.
Well, what's his size?
Oh, you're talking about 6'4", 6'5", to almost 260 pounds. Can catch the ball, can block a little too.
Awesome. So no, that's great. If we can have the backup there, and if also you can say they can rotate it, it'll throw people off. That's for sure. That'll be awesome. I really wasn't too familiar with Alex Bauman, so he is a secret weapon. Thank you for that, Juan Manuel. Juan Manuel, Eddie Brown, yes, probably my favorite receiver of all time, showing my age for Miami. He was unbelievable with Kosar, and a great guy, played for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Or number 40 for Miami, right?
Yes, number 40. I'm pretty. Yeah, so he was awesome. So did love Eddie Brown. He was awesome, and yes, I mentioned him earlier before, but he had a great NFL career, and he was great for the Hurricanes. So and those, Kosar had that great year. He did have, I think he had Eddie Brown. Did he have Stanley Shakespeare also? I think back then.
Yeah, it's Stanley Shakespeare.
Who was another excellent receiver that people never talk about, and he had like the greatest name in the world. But Eddie Brown was number one, but Stanley Shakespeare made amazing plays. Did he play in the NFL, Stanley Shakespeare?
I believe he did. You also had the tight end on that first national tight end team. If that national title team, it was Glenn Dennison, right?
Glenn Dennison, yeah. That was the beginning. It was Glenn Dennison, exactly. Bubba Franks came later, I think, right?
And then, Bubba Franks was late 90s.
Yeah. So it's so Glenn Dennison was
Miami had a really, when you talk about tight end, they had some really good guys even before Franks and Shockey and Winslow. You go back to the 80s, they had guys like Dennison, and then they had what's this guy's name? His son plays on the team now, Chase Smith. Willie Smith.
Willie Smith.
Yeah, it's unfortunate what happened like near the end of his career, because he was gonna like leave a year early, and then some scenario happened there. You had other guys, Coleman Bell.
Exactly.
Those teams with Toretta and those guys.
Yeah, so no, Coleman Bell, excellent receiver. So yeah, so no, they definitely had quite a few. People don't talk about them, but Miami was tight end U, and we are tight end U in the NFL because we've dominated touchdowns for Hurricane receivers. I mean, for a while, we dominated most positions, it seemed. Hassan, my favorite was Travis Benjamin. He always played well against FS Pooh. Correct, Travis Benjamin, another excellent receiver. Let's see. Then there was the other Bennett. Was it his son that played for Florida State?
Which one?
Benjamin had somebody there was a Benjamin that played for Florida State as well.
Oh, that was Kelvin Benjamin, but there was no relation between him and Travis.
No relation there. Roscoe Parrish was another good receiver for the Hurricanes. Great punt returner, great receiver. Had a good career with the Bills. So a lot of Hurricane receivers that have done very well in college and in the big league. Gio, will any receiver we haven't talked about surprise, like Chance Robinson? By the way, his dad has been coming to CanesWear since the warehouse days. James, great family. Nye Carr, Upshaw, Joshua Moore, or Keelan Marion, or CJ Danielson. Will any of these guys be surprises?
I've heard a lot of good feedback on Keelan Marion specifically. I don't know if he'll end up starting with that group that they have, but he'll very much be in the mix of that rotation, get plenty of snaps. Obviously, everyone knows about the impact he can bring as a kick returner, being an All-American at that spot. But I've heard some good things about him. CJ Daniels, very reliable receiver. Some people think he could be a number one. If you ask me personally, I don't think he's a true number one. I think he's a great number two, though. Like if you're looking for like a great team that could be a playoff team and what you would want your number two guy to look like in that receiving corps, I think CJ Daniels totally fits the bill. Like that would be your ideal number two in that scenario. But again, I've have the full belief that I think JoJo Trader very much has the talent to be the number one in the offense. As long as he stays healthy, that should come to fruition. But again, we got to see when the season arrives.
What do you think about Chance Robinson?
I like Chance Robinson. The only issues that I've seen, it's not so much a talent thing. It's more so he's had the injury since he came into the program, missed quite a bit of time last year, missed some of spring this year too. I know he's healthy now. He's training. He's getting ready for fall camp. I think this camp is really big for him. And the reason why I say it's really big for Chance Robinson, because those three freshman receivers that they just brought in this spring, like Malachi Toney, Dalen Upshaw, Joshua Moore, they all had really good moments throughout camp, like at individual points. Like there was a couple of times where Joshua Moore was really starting to take over. Like he had one practice where, if I recall, I spoke with someone who saw the private session. He had like 3 or 4 touchdowns in one practice. There was a day that Dalen Upshaw dominated. Malachi Tony had numerous times that he's really going to see the field this year, regardless of any of the transfers they brought in. So I think the key is that as long as Chance Robinson is open, as long as he's healthy, he has to be ready to compete this fall camp, because it could be very key in terms of where he falls in the pecking order in that receivers group. Yeah, and I'll point it out even more like this, like Nikar. You talk to people around the program and people that were around Cam Ward last year behind closed doors, Nikar was Cam Ward's favorite among the younger receivers. He was a really big Nikar guy, and Nikar really flashed a lot when he first got here. There was a little bit of like a medical situation that had happened along the way too, and then he was ready for spring ball, but he ended up transferring out of the program for a little bit of time, and then he came back from the portal and returned. So again, it's just you got to see how it all plays out. But I do like Chance Robinson. I'm not a guy that's like stocked down. It's hard to say because he's been limited since his arrival.
So we've got like what, 10 or 12 receivers right now?
They got 10 receivers in that room right now.
Wow. So it should be interesting. Hopefully a few guys stand out, and we can have some future Amon Richards with his having that amazing freshman year. Let's see. Jonathan Crumbly, welcome to the show. Gio, you see any 5 stars committing this weekend?
If there was one guy out of the group of 5 stars that are coming, that like you obviously have the number 1 defensive tackle being on campus, Lamar Brown, the number 1 receiver, Tristan Keys, depending on what website you're looking at, number 1 or number 2 running back in the country, and Derek Cooper, number 1 or number 2 corner, and Chauncey Kennedy. You have a great group of 5-star guys coming in. But if I'm zeroing in on one specific guy, and I've mentioned this over and over again, I love where Miami stands in the recruitment of Derek Cooper.
All right. So you think we're going to get him?
I've had a pick placed in for him since November, and haven't moved off of it. Haven't even thought of moving off of it. So,
all right, 3-3. Panthers just gave up an ugly goal. It shouldn't have been a goal, but it was. Just fell apart on the defense. So 3-3. 11 minutes and 15 seconds to go. Yes, Jose, welcome to the show. Dale Dawkins, we mentioned him. Great guy, Dale was. I think he was number 11, wasn't he? Was awesome for the Hurricanes. Played in the NFL. Hassan with great point. Shadzinski was a good TE. He was also our offensive coordinator for a while, but he was an excellent. Rob Shadzinski, great tight end. Obviously, we had Greg Olson as well, who should be a Hall of Famer. And we had, who's a great announcer also, who lost his job to number 1 job to Tom Brady, and obviously Jimmy Graham as well. So we definitely have had the tight ends, but Shadzinski was an excellent. He played for Cleveland, I believe, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So
you also now have David Njoku. He got into the Pro Bowl. Was it last year? It was either last year or the year before. Njoku made a Pro Bowl team. So
yes, and Njoku, yes, he definitely came on. He started off slow, but one of the most amazing physical specimens we've ever seen on the field. I was talking about Mark Fletch, but Njoku was just huge. And Hassan, yes, 3-3. Thanks for letting us know. Juan Manuel, where do you see Ryan Fitzgerald playing? Can he do punt returns and gimmick plays? Too talented of an athlete to just be on the sideline looking good.
Yeah, so when it comes to Bryce Fitzgerald, I believe I've mentioned this before, but heck of an athlete that he is. He won 3 state championships his senior year in different sports. So
did he really? Wow.
That speaks volumes in itself. 10.6 in the 100-meter as well on track and field. So about 6'1", 6'2", 185, 190 pounds coming into the program. What I had heard on him, and this dates back a couple months, was that the expectation was that he was going to come in and play cornerback. Now, obviously, Miami's really revamped that room. I know he could play offense because he's played both sides of the ball. Coming out of high school, mainly, he's been recruited as a defensive back coming out of high school, but I haven't heard anything in terms of him playing offense recently. Again, when camp comes, if I see something like that, I'll bring it up. But I know the expectation has been that likely starting out at cornerback. But again, that can always change because we go back to DJ Dallas. DJ Dallas, when he first got to Miami, he was practicing at receiver and then he moved to running back. So these things, it's not like a set in stone situation. Like they can be fluid. They could change over time. Coaches of guys have moved guys to different places several times.
All right. So we've got Ryan. So it's Ryan Fitzgerald. Bryce Fitzgerald. Okay. Ryan Fitzgerald's. I think there is a Ryan Fitzgerald though, isn't there? Not for us, but somewhere. Fitzpatrick, that's what it is. Ryan Fitzpatrick. All right. Well,
it's magic.
Exactly. Fitzmagic. I don't think he ever actually took his team to the playoffs, but he did have a decent career. I remember when he was a rookie. What was he at Harvard? But that one pass he had for the Dolphins against the Raiders on that, I think it was that night game, was no look. It was amazing. Let's see. Alfredo, a tight end also. Yes, I think Alfredo was a tight end also, correct?
Yeah, Alfredo Roberts.
Didn't Herb Waters start at DB before moving to receiver? I do remember him as a DB as well. But I could be wrong.
There was a lot of people who felt that Herb Waters would have been better off at defensive back coming out of the Homestead area. He started off at wide receiver at Miami, finished off at wide receiver, moved to defensive back when he got to the league, though.
All right. Juan Manuel, great job, guys. Give us one more night a week. Let's see. Gio's got a pretty busy schedule. But thank you. Maybe we will one day have another show. So thank you. Anthony jumps in. Only a couple more questions left, guys. Gio, do you know? Welcome to the show, Anthony. Gio, do you know if it's the 25-star safeties in this class to visit Miami in June?
Do I know if the 25-star safeties in this class are to visit Miami in June? I'm not sure what Anthony means by that. Anthony, can you rephrase that question?
All right. While we're waiting for Anthony, great show, Gio. Thank you so much for being awesome today, answering everybody's questions. You were phenomenal. Anything you got planned coming up with all your shows and everything?
Yeah, Amon and I will be going live again. It'll be either tomorrow or Friday. I'm working out like the exact time. Hold on. Well, we also have official visit weekend starting Friday afternoon. We'll be getting some feedback on that in terms of guys that are on campus, who Miami will move the needle for, and exactly what are the happenings around campus and where things will go from here. But I do think it'll be a good and relatively successful weekend for Miami.
Awesome.
Let's see here.
Jet Washington, maybe, Jonathan Crumbly said.
Jet Washington doesn't plan to visit. That's Kobe Bryant's nephew. Miami had offered him late. They got into the game really late with him. He's a Bishop Gorman guy. Unfortunately, Miami's had some really good success with guys out in Vegas over the last, I would say, about a decade now. But no, he's not going to visit. He doesn't plan to visit Miami. And then Vic Vassell shared, "Are we still recruiting Tadarius Hughes?" Yes, Miami actually went to go see him this spring. The visit is off the table for this summer. There are some guys that Miami has ahead of him at safety. Like, for example, you have guys like Blake Stewart, Tyreek Green, Zeke Fort, Justice Fitzpatrick. I feel like I might be forgetting one or two other guys in the mix there. CJ Hester from Cocoa, Florida. Just those are some of the names right there that I'm remembering off the top of my head. But when it comes to Tadarius Hughes, he kind of comes in that group after those guys at the safety spot. So, again, things can change. Senior evaluations. Miami's really big on senior evaluations and how these guys progress year over year. So we'll see. But as it is right now, I don't expect Miami to go in that direction. And then
Hassan said he's probably, I think Anthony too, any 5-star safety is going to be visiting in this class. Is Fitzpatrick a safety?
yeah, that's
Mika's brother.
Yeah, that's Minka's brother. He plays both spots. We'll see, though. I know Miami really likes him as a safety, but some other programs are considering as a corner.
Okay. I mean, is Alabama in the running for that since his brother was such a star there?
Alabama, Georgia, Texas, Miami.
So we got to beat all the big boys.
I'm forgetting one more program.
So he's obviously highly touted since all the big names.
Yeah. He's like it's like a top 50, top 60 guy in the country.
Hammer goal, 4th ring.
Nice.
All right. Yeah. So that'd be a great get for us, but it's going to take a lot of money, I'm sure. I'm sure a guy like that's going to be Alabama, Georgia. It used to be, who do you want to go to? But now at least it's all up above the table, so everybody can be dealing fairly. Jahari Edwards out of New Jersey, Anthony said.
Jahari Edwards. Wait, why does that name sound familiar? Hold on.
Before.
One second. Let me see. Oh, you're talking about Jaira Edwards. Yeah, no. Miami had interest in him some while back, but there was never any real traction that was made there. I know one of the programs. I actually know people that have coached him during the offseason that are really close to his recruitment. Georgia was one of the programs that was mentioned to me that was really interested in him, but that was like a really long time ago. I'm not sure exactly where his recruitment stands right now, but yeah, no, just Miami's not even really in the picture there.
All right. Let's see. Bill Belichick will host a new show called To Catch a Coach Predator. Juan Manuel. My wife is laughing in the background at that one. I couldn't even know she's hit. You like that one, honey? Juan Manuel, my wife Stephanie, loves that comment. She's cracking up. Anthony St. Francis Academy. I guess where he's talking about where that guy played. 4-3.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Let's see. Jake, welcome to the show, Jake. How has Max Buchanan been looking in camp? He's a hometown kid.
Well, he was getting reps on the second team at left guard throughout camp with Miami during spring and whatnot. We'll see what the progress is from here on out, but he was getting some reps with the second team at left guard. So that's kind of where things stand right now. But from a size standpoint, though, I think when you compare him with all 4 offensive linemen that they brought in this most recent class, definitely the most well put together right now. Guys like Jaden Wilkerson and Demetrius Campbell, they got to reshape their bodies a little bit. But SJ Alafai-Tuli still has to get a little bit bigger himself. He was working at center and right guard. So, yeah.
Awesome. So, Gio, you're going to be on with them on tomorrow, you said, right?
Yeah, it'll either be tomorrow or Friday. I just have to narrow down a time. But Jonathan Crumbly mentions here, is Ryan Mack healthy yet? Honestly, I'm not going to even lie. I really don't know.
Look at that.
Actually, Ryan Mack is
in the Gio game. Congratulations, Jonathan. And Anthony says, Gio, you follow recruiting for a long time. Yes, he does. Oh, is it more common for 5-star corners than it is for 5-star safeties?
There's much more 5-star corners in the rankings than it is compared to safeties. And the reason why is sometimes some of these safeties that get ranked really high sometimes are like 6'3", 6'4" guys that eventually grow into being linebackers. So for the most part, I've worked in the recruiting industry before in the past. More times than not, you see more 5-star cornerbacks than there are safeties. Maybe every year you might see 1 at most 2 5-stars at the safety position.
All right, awesome. And last question we'll take, Blue. Did we replace Jeffrey Eaton and Matthew File yet?
Yeah, I honestly I haven't checked in with that yet in terms of like what the strength and conditioning coaching changes will be. I know of like their departures that they left and moved on to other programs, but in terms of their replacements, I haven't heard anything about that just yet.
Mm-hmm.
That info is actually a little harder to come by in terms of like strength and conditioning, like which coaches they're bringing in, who's moving out. I hear things about like analysts, like guys that they're bringing into the program, like behind the scenes, like whether they're working in the recruiting department or scouting and development and whatnot. But just strength and conditioning, I haven't got much info about that, to be honest with you.
Awesome. Gio, you're the best in the business. Hassan says, I 100% agree. Jonathan says, guys like James Williams, there was a 5-star safety. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Gatorade player. Was he Gatorade player of the year? He was in Florida, I think.
He had won some award similar to that. Yes.
James, great kid too. So Gio, thank you. Anything else we should know about the Gio platform or what's happening?
No, nothing much right now. Just I know it's a little quiet right now, but things will start heating up as we get closer to the end of the weeks. Once these official visitors get on campus, some things will start getting out there. You start hearing some things about where Miami's trending with some of these guys. You know, you got about 5 stars that'll be on campus between Derek Cooper, Tristan Keys, Lamar Brown, Anthony Tank Jones, Chauncey Kennan. Some other guys that are borderline 5 stars too that'll be on campus. So it's a really big weekend for the program.
The fact you have all this in your mind, Gio, is just unbelievable. You are fantastic, sensational. We appreciate you. Thanks for joining in, guys. Remember, CanesWear, CanesWear.com. All your Canes items, and stop at the store, 2655 South University Drive, or CanesWear.com. Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, Inter Miami and Messi, some Heat and some Marlins stuff. Also, come by, say hi to me or Jeff. Maybe we'll do an Ask Gio live in the store during the season so people can come out and see the celebrity himself. All right. We have to do our own NIL deal. Remember, FTSN Network, like and subscribe. Bobby and the guys do a great job. We missed Mando and Cliff today. Hopefully we'll see them soon. And thank you again for coming out to our show. We had over 100 comments and questions, Gio. So you were definitely very busy today. So thank you very much. And remember, it's all about the you. Let's go, Canes.